I don't know. It's been a long time, but I am thrilled to have Joel Kadish back.
It's been a minute. It has been a
It's
minute.
been a
I'm so
minute.
happy
It's
to be
been a minute.
back.
Thank you.
My life is more complete as a result of leverage. 100%. Yeah.
Oh, all that business that comes pouring in from my,
my
hundreds
God,
of
yes.
thousands of listeners.
And the royalties. We were just talking about that off camera, the royalties we get.
Oh, yes, you and Len. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm
100%.
sure you'll negotiate something in
We
a contract.
will.
I'll show up.
We
I'll
will.
get something. Meanwhile, I at the same point have 2 lawyers in my house with a dog that would probably bite both of you. So
I know.
It's good.
Liability.
It's good. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the reason for today's episode is I never thought I would actually want to do an episode on a buyer's rep agreement.
No, and
It
I
is
never
the
wanted to
most-
read it.
No, it's an important document.
Yep.
And we're going to tell you all about why it's so important today. But interestingly enough, not all agents use them right off the bat, and some do. And I would almost say that this story is more about the red flag about ones that ask you to do it. But anyway, let's start with what it is. Joel, would you like to give us the legal perspective on what a buyer's agreement is in real estate? I'm happy to give the layman's terms, but
I think it's a funny thing because it's a contractual arrangement that's binding on buyers. And what it says is, I will only work with agent X for this amount of time. And then it has kind of a code of like what happens, if after the expiry of the contract, you go back and buy a house that you saw with this person. It's kind of an odd contract because most professional relationships we have, like our accountant, our lawyer, architects, engineers, they're sort of these at-will contracts, right? Like if we don't like each other, we can just,
right. I've never
get
signed.
out.
Well, I've signed an agreement with an accountant so that they have, according to the CRA,
Right,
can act
of course,
for me.
of course.
But not that I'm bound to them.
But not that you're bound to them for a specific period of time.
Correct.
So it's a bit of an unusual
It's an
document.
uncomfortable one, actually.
And
I feel uncomfortable about it.
And, I'd like to know from your perspective, sort of, what do you tell a client when you introduce this document to the relationship? And then I'd also like to know your perspective on when would you say, look, I'm just going to work with you? And then when would you want it signed and at what point in the relationship? Because, the one thing that our experience has told us is, I think the clients don't understand a lot of the times. It's not explained carefully enough. And they don't understand the length of the obligation, what happens if they want to get out, and that the agent does not have to let them out of the contract.
So we're going to get to why we're even talking about this at the
100%.
end, because we've got a really salacious story, no names that will be mentioned. But so it is a really interesting contract, and you put it so eloquently, because I think the core to this is that the general public is confused by it as well. Because you don't go ahead like, I have a interior designer that I absolutely adore, that's wonderful, that I work with. I've never had to sign a contract with him to say I'm only going to work with him for 6 months or whatever it is. I don't sign it with my accountant. If I have a contract with the lawyer, it's because I'm paying you a residual of, or a, what do you call it?
You might pay a retainer.
Retainer, thank you so much. But
that
there's
just,
no contract to say you have to.
A retainer just guarantees payment for accounts to be rendered in the future.
So it's interesting to me because one would ask, why do you need a buyer's representation, right? Like, why do I need, and I don't know, maybe I have to have Rico on to talk about this. And my belief is that it was something made up by the real estate council that thought that it was the best. It was advantageous for the agent to make sure that these people were bound to them, but
so for me, it's the nature of payment. Because you only earn commission and you aren't paid for your time.
It is actually the only profession. I want to actually have this on record.
Exactly.
It's the only profession that you put work and time into it and don't get paid.
You don't get paid.
I don't get paid. We've always talked about this. Like if you and I both looked
100%.
at the amount of hours we spend on certain things based on what we made on X, Y, and Z deal, it would be very interesting whether we hit, minimum wage sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay? And by the way, real estate agents are very well compensated. Neither of us are crying, but the point is that there is an enormous amount of work. So no one comes and says, hi, like when I hired my interior designer, he said, this is my hourly rate, this is how much it'll be, and whatever. And so I understand when I engage with him that this is what I owe him.
Correct.
Okay? So
But let's get back to the difference.
Yes, keep me on course.
In a commission agreement,
Yeah.
the reason why we have that agreement for me is that the agent wants to ensure that they get paid for the work that they're done because
Not by the buyer. Yeah.
because the only compensation is through the commission.
Yeah.
So I think what it was intended to do was protect the agent's livelihood by saying, look, you're going to sign up with me for X period of time. Because otherwise, what a person could do is approach 5 agents, send them all out there.
Which, by the way, I believe people did at one time.
I think they did.
That's
And
where
send them all out there, have them all working. And without disclosing any other of these arrangements. And then the one that finds them the property, and then the other 4 have now got nothing. They're not compensated for their time, their efforts, for their gas, for their mileage, for anything. Yeah. So I think to protect the system, this contract was put in place. But I want to talk about how
so
you
going back to that.
Yeah.
So I think I've had only one client that I was referred to in all of my years blatantly say right off the bat to me, I'm not signing a buyer's agreement.
And why did they say
By the way,
that?
and I hadn't even brought it up at all. And because he didn't want to be tied to me.
Right.
So I said, no problem. Ironically, I don't actually, so going back to your question, when do I introduce the buyer? So as you know, my whole business is in referral and repeat clients. Yeah. So when I get introduced to someone on a buyer's level, my first instinct is not to put a buyer's representation in front of them and is not to ask them to buy. But I do bring it up. And I let them know that buyer representation is going to be needed. I actually legally cannot put in an offer for them unless they have signed that, okay? But my whole stance is I only want to work with people who want to work with me. So going back to the gentleman that said to me, I won't sign one. I said, that's not a problem. But I just want you to know that I actually only want to work with people that want to work with me. And by the way, I interview just as much as they interview me. So because I have declined clients.
But from an educational standpoint, if you were advising
a young agent,
a young buyer,
okay,
would you tell them, hey, I think you should really interview a few agents?
Oh, so going back to that. So first of all, I don't understand how people can get 3 contractors to come in and quote on a powder room bathroom, but they get only one person that their Aunt Molly told them they should use. Which, by the way, Aunt Molly could be great and that person could be great, but at least interview 2 more. Recent story. I had a couple that came through a listing of mine. They were unrepresented. They were looking at the house. They chose not to buy it, but they said, you know what, we'd really like you to come and look at our house. We're planning to buy on our own. We don't actually want to be represented on the buy side, but we're very interested in you representing us to sell our house. No problem. So I go, they interview me, we have a whole conversation. I give them some tips on what to do with the house. And, it's kind of left like, hey, I will keep in touch. I'll let you know if there's anything kind of going on in your area, if anything changes value-wise on what I've projected. But, let me know if you find a house, because otherwise there's nothing to do until you find the house. In the meantime, they have gone on and interviewed other people.
Interesting.
in which when they call me to tell me that they have now bought this house and they're ready to sell their home, they let me know.
Fair.
They let me know. They're like, we interviewed several people and you're still our first choice. And you know what? That was the right thing to do, because they should not hire me because I was standing in an open house of a house just because and again, I got a call from a gentleman. I've never heard of this guy before. His wife saw our sign on a lawn that said sold recently, took it. We're probably one of the only sold signs in the area. Yeah. Called us and said, we'd like you to come and pitch on the house. And I'll tell you, I will ask them, are you interviewing anyone else? And I'll bet you they said no.
And you know what's really interesting? This is the most significant financial transaction in most people's lives.
Less done in preparation for something like that than a $25,000 renovation in their house.
Or, you know what I say? Yeah. Most of my clients do more research buying a TV. Right? They go online, they talk to but this I just can't figure it out.
What I'm finding is some of the younger generation are. So I actually got referred to someone very much in my ecosystem. Right. Like the brother-in-law and sister, I've dealt with them for years. Whole family came down to the sister and brother-in-law, ready to buy their first place. And that husband had watched my podcast, checked me out on Instagram, I saw, oh, by the way, he's like, I know so-and-so that you had on the podcast. I thought that was a great episode. I'm like, what? I'm always like, someone watched my episode?
I know.
Right? I'm like, someone saw my podcast?
There's more than 4 people.
Right. So, I mean, really, I believe, and that's my model, for example, is that by the time someone meets me on a Zoom call or I walk into their house, I'm hoping they've looked me up. I'm hoping they've put my name in, because I'm not for everybody, but you will get to really get a sense of who I am. I mean, we're also friends. I mean, I'm pretty much, this is what you get. Like it or not.
I always say lawyers and real estate agents, we're like cheese, right? Like some people like blue cheese. You know, some people like stinky cheese.
But everybody likes cheese.
Right. So it's just a matter of like, you do have to find your match.
Well, and you have to find, so it was interesting, even in that conversation with the people that had interviewed other people, and it came down to it, I looked at them and I said, you have to decide who you feel the most confident representing you out in the market.
100%.
And that is a decision that's personal.
And you know what's really interesting? What does the word agent mean? Real estate agent. Agency relationship. In an agency relationship, that person represents you.
We're only well,
and really, it is a representation of you and what you want and how you behave and everything. So you really do want to find that match. But getting back to the question, what point in time do you introduce this document? And I've explained it my way. Now I want you to explain it your way.
It actually depends. I've got to tell you, it really depends. So I don't do clients like that. I'm open for business, but I don't necessarily, I would say 99% of my business is coming from people that I already have a connection to, okay? Right. So if I were to have a random person that said, hey, I found your phone number, I saw your listing, you know, my wife and I are looking to buy a place, I don't know these people from Adam, I might get them to do a buyer's representation.
And then let me ask you a question. This gets back to our own situation, but
we're building up to the story.
What period of time would you have somebody engaged in that agreement? In other words, the buyer rep agreement has a fill in the blank.
Yeah, it does.
And it says how many days that we are locked together in a cage.
So I would say, I'd say somewhere between 3 and 6 months.
Fair.
I would say it depends on the people. So if they're like, if this is like an immediate and they're like, we're getting removed from this property and we need to be in a place by October, why am I putting something for 6 months? I go, no problem. You need to be somewhere in October 1st. I'll do it for October 30th. That way, just in case, everything's covered. I don't have to necessarily do an extension if it's an extra 15 days or whatever it is.
But
right?
for you, you're looking at price, You're looking at market, like what do they want? What are their
you have to
expectations?
fill, yeah, it's like geographical.
Right.
Like you can't say I'm looking in the GTA for a condo and then buy them a cottage in Halliburton. That buyer representation doesn't work.
Right.
So
you're evaluating a number of things.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't think I fill in budget. I don't think I have to.
Right.
And again, I think one of the things that people have to realize also is that buyer representation, which I had a client who said to me, and it was a totally fair comment, because I said, listen, it was actually for a listing. My dog is crying because he's so upset he's not out here. So I had a listing, so on the flip side, but similar kind of premise. I said, okay, I'm going to put this out for 6 months. And he said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to want to do anything with this in 3 months. So if you haven't got it done in 3 months, I'd rather pull it off. And I actually don't love that, because some agents go down and look at when is it expiring. And if they think that it's only for a short period of time, it's a perception of like, yeah, they're like, you're not serious. They don't really want to sell. So I always say, listen, perception becomes a reality. And I said to him, you want to cancel? No problem. Sure. Okay? Like, I am happy. I don't want to work with anyone that doesn't want to work with me. Okay?
But let's get back to this. Now you sign a agreement, a buyer rep agreement, and you said you put in how many months?
Let's say it's 6 months. Let's say it's 6 months.
So on day 22, your clients say, we believe that you are the worst person, the most unethical. We don't like you. You don't like us. We can't even get...
You piece of bleep.
Can't even get in the car with you. We don't like your choice of cars. You've taken us, you took us for...
You have no idea what you're doing.
No idea what you're doing. And we don't agree with any of your political views that when you trap us in your car, you talk politics. So what would you, like literally, okay, now, what does the contract say? And what would you do?
Oh. I feel like no problem.
So what does the contract say though? The contract says too bad.
Does it really?
Those contracts, the contract says too bad. The contract doesn't have like a morality clause or a I don't like you clause. The contract says once you signed it for 3 months, you're bound to that agent for 3 months.
And there has to be something in there that says. There's no standard language that says that you have the ability to. There is something that says you can request a mutual release.
Sure, but they don't have to give it to you.
Right, so they don't have to give it to you. So you can ask for a mutual. But
hold on. What would you personally do if somebody said I want?
Literally forward that email over to my deals department and say, please start a mutual release to be signed by these clients so that they can be released.
And what would your broker say?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. They'd be like, the response would be the mutual release.
Right. So in other words, you really feel strongly that if you're not a match, if you can't connect, you're going to let them out of that agreement.
But why would I want to work with someone that doesn't think that I do?
But what happens when someone doesn't want to let them out and they want to work with somebody else? What happens?
So let's talk about that, Joel.
Okay.
So all of this is being talked about because, oh my God, 3 months ago?
It's a long time.
It was a long time.
Yeah,
How long
took
has
a long
going
time.
on?
It took a long time.
3 months? So I was in Jamaica when we were talking about it.
No, don't talk about your jet-setting life, okay?
Stop it. Okay, so we're August, 4 months.
Look, follow
Let's
her.
Let's go for it.
Hold
Never
on.
mind.
What's your Instagram? What's your
Rachel
Instagram?
Levy Homes.
She lives a glorious life. It's glorious. I go to Dairy Queen on Dufferin.
Stop it.
You can hang out with me and I'll buy you a cone. A dip cone.
Well, actually, can I have it in a cup?
You can have it in a cup. I don't eat the cone.
You're not eating a cone.
I have it in a cup.
He's such a liar. Anyway, so I get a referral from a dear client of mine that says I've got one of my best friends is looking for a place. She didn't have a great experience with her first agent, and I said she's got it. She's got to talk to you. I said, okay, no problem. So we can also talk about the liability there also. So I get connected with her and her partner, and I answer all their questions. I ask their questions, and one of them is, do you still have a buyer contract with the current agent? And they said, yes, but we've let her know that we want to be released. And she said, it's no problem, whatever. I said, okay, no problem. Well, you're going to need that before I can help you. Okay, no problem. We're going to get that.
Now, just out of curiosity, are you obligated, I don't know the answer to this, but are you obligated to ask a new client who you don't know, have you signed on with anyone else? Is that a question you normally ask? Or
I never ask that. I mean,
so what happens, like, I presume you presume
because
that
again,
people
I don't get random phone calls from people off like
you
Bob
also presume
saying,
that people act in good faith, right? That they're
for
you
sure.
know,
But
yeah.
I also mention in that, like, again, if like people that I know, I'm like, guys, I'm not getting you to sign the buyer rep, but just let you know, we're gonna have to do it before we put an offer in. But in the preliminary conversation where they're like, hi, we want to tell you about our hopes and dreams, I'm not talking about a buyer contract.
So if you're a young agent and you're watching this, would one of the things, and you're getting
Know who you're working with. That's know who you're working with and have a relationship with them.
And so I, as a lawyer, might have a different recommendation than you. And I would say, if you're a young agent and you're watching this, one of the questions you should ask your clients is, have you signed a buyer rep with anyone else? Because
Are you working with anyone
are you
else?
working with anyone else?
I mean, yes, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
And I understand why you might not, but for the young agent, the young lawyer that's watching,
Right,
you know,
for
you
sure.
would recommend.
So these people, we knew they already had an agent. We knew that, and I said, did you sign something? Yes, we signed something. And so she said, and she's like, oh, yes, so-and-so that was referred, she goes, that might be a problem. I said, okay, I'm not actually allowed to really talk to you, and I'm not allowed to talk to, I'm not allowed to guide them. I'm not allowed to give them advice.
So you can't like ghost someone who, you know, or into a side deal that says you'll pay me.
By the way, we had a client who we picked up from a sale out in Etobicoke. Yeah. He wanted to buy the unit. And so one of the agents on my team took it over and put an offer in, and he signed a buyer agreement with us.
Interesting.
And it didn't go through. He was an interesting fellow.
Got it. And, we deal with interesting people from time to time.
Yeah, and we never heard from him again. So I just said to her, listen, you have a legal binding contract with him. You're allowed to reach out. Mm-hmm. I said, I think you give it twice, and if he doesn't respond, that's your answer. But follow up is always a good idea with any client. You never know; they could be they could have been family emergency out of the country, whatever it is. Anyway, so that happened, and then it just dissolved, and that was it. Okay, so in this instance, I assumed everything was fine and everything was good, and I think that they also had been given a verbal, even in text, saying, no problem, you know, we're going to let you out, we're going to send you a mutual release, or whatever it was that was communicated. I don't remember.
I believe, based on what I saw and how I feel, you know, contractual arrangements are, I believe that they felt that they had been released from the contract.
I believe that as well.
I'm saying, like, they're not lawyers, they're not agents.
Yeah.
How many contracts do they sign in their lifetime? Very few.
Right.
So based on, you know, what I'll call common sense, which doesn't apply in our world, but based on common sense, we would agree that the previous agent had released them, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
and
what
these
happens?
Are the most lovely humans you've ever met. They're lovely and they're kind and they don't want to offend anybody.
They're certainly not aggressive, A-type.
They were looking
Rachel,
for advice.
Joel, right?
No, they were also looking for advice. What do you think is the right thing to do?
100%.
We want so.
That's
I
my
also
experience.
want to. Yes, thank you. I would agree. I confer. So I would also say that I want to give some context in the sense that they had originally reached out to this agent to look for rentals. They had looked at rentals for less than a month.
Didn't know that.
And then they flipped and said, you know what? We actually think, based on what we're seeing in rentals, that, you know what, and rent prices and what we're getting, maybe we're actually going to take the dive and we're going to buy something.
Right.
So that flipped again. And the agent presented them with a contract that they believed to be standard for 1 year.
So let's talk about that first aspect. In your experience, is that unusually long?
No bueno.
Right.
No.
And before you told
And
me,
if you take anything away from this episode, there is absolutely no reason, first of all, that you should be looking for a year. Listen, I've looked with clients I had clients who were moving from New York. We came back and forth for 6 months. Then they came and they decided we're going to rent. We're going to figure out where we live. And you know what? I looked off and on with them for up to 2 years. I did not have a buyer contract.
and my agents do have those relationships with their clients. It's not just you.
But of course, because everybody has their own journey.
Because your goals are unique with every different client.
I have been talking to this young man selling his condo for 3 years, up and down.
Sure.
So my relationships are not, they're fluid. I talk to people for years. I know them for years, all that good stuff. But contractually,
no.
For 1 year to hold someone to you, okay. So no bueno, no. And I believe that any client, going back to this, so, and I didn't finish the story about this gentleman who wanted to list his condo, and he said, I said, listen, I will tell you, I'm happy to put it into an email. I will release you if at any point. I have no interest in keeping you into a contract with me. And he looked at me, he said, with all due respect, I know the contract's with your broker and I don't know your brokerage. So I'm going to have to ask you to put it at 3 months. And I said, no problem. It's a very fair point. Fair. Now, I can't give him word. Yes, I could get Darren to write an email saying you're right. But at the end of the day, if he has concerns and he knows he wants to get out because he's like, you know what? I want to throw up in the market in 3 months. And if it doesn't sell, I want out. Then he should have that.
And you've also been very clear that you told him that there may be a market disadvantage to putting it at 3 months because of what you told me.
And it was a rental and that was a different story. But I think that anybody who is signing a contract has the right to review. And I had my dear friend Joy Verde on here and she said, people spend more time reading a menu than they do reading a contract that is so incredible. Or I think she even said, care instructions for a sweater before they wash it than they do for the contract. Because they're like, this is my agent and they know what they're doing and they told me I should just sign this and that's the end of the story.
I'm going to steal that line. Care instructions for a sweater. Because it is actually true, right?
It's so true.
Well, like, you're going to the hot new restaurant on Ossington and now you're studying the menu, you're looking at reviews.
Right? It's so true. But on the other hand, listen, I will say, my financial advisor is an incredibly good friend of mine. I would call him almost family. Yeah. When his office sends me stuff, I don't read it. I probably should, but I don't because I trust him and I've known him.
Has he been on leverage?
What?
Has he been on leverage just once?
He has. Yeah. But I've known him for 25 years. Now, on the rental that I'm trying to work on in Florida for the winter, I'm using this agent I've never met in my entire life, okay? And I'll tell you, I am going over that contract tooth and nail, okay? So, I mean, again, it's risk, everyone's risk mitigation, whatever. But so these people come to me, they've got a year. Anyway, this is where I think it went south. And I looking back, I don't even know if I would do it differently because I just never want to be that person. But their email to the agent was, hey, we haven't gotten that mutual release and we found a house we love and we want to put an offer in it. Could you send it so our new agent could put an offer in?
Oh, boy.
So.
Yeah, because that, you see that.
No, that was an innocent email. They're from their heart.
And you know what? They
thought that they were out. Everything was fine.
To be honest, they did what most of our clients wouldn't do. They told the truth. And God bless them. And we should, to tell you the truth, we would be so much better off if all of our clients
just tell the truth.
Just tell the truth.
Just tell the truth.
Straight line, A to B.
A to B. Was there water in your basement? Are you faking your employment letter? I don't know, right?
When is this going to explode? When is your lie going to come back? Oh,
I love that.
Boy.
Anyway, so that's where it goes south. So then. We got the offer prep, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing I know, I get a call from the agent. Oh, that she needs to talk to me. And I was like, I don't know, she shouldn't need to talk to me. But okay, so I get a call from the agent. And she's like, so she tells me who she is. I'm like, yep, no, I know who you are. And she's like, so I'm going to prep the mutual release, but I will do it only if you sign a 25% referral agreement.
Okay, so let's clarify. So right now, our clients have signed on with another agent for a year.
Yeah.
They come to you. You find them a house that they want to make an offer on.
Yes. Because they're under the understanding that being released by the other people.
Right.
Which I've been told they've been released, like it's all good.
So everybody's acting in good faith here. And then you go and you say, okay, can I have that document?
Yeah.
And basically you're told that a fee has to be paid for the release.
So I say to her, oh no. I said to her, you know that that's not the way this works. I said, I'm not really interested in being, what's the word, extorted. Your client, I said, listen, I'm sure it doesn't feel good. I have to say it's actually only happened to me once. And it didn't feel good then, but you know, you put your tail between your legs, you put your head and go, you know what? I wasn't for them. They weren't for me. And you move on with your life, right? Because karma is a bitch.
I was just talking off camera about some of my mentors. One of my great mentors who passed away, his name was Danny Gordon. And Danny said to me, Kadish, not everyone's going to love you. And it's true, right? Like I didn't understand it at the time because I was young and I took everything so personally, right? Like to my heart.
Well, listen, it's the greatest,
right?
greatest thing as a human being to learn. Like I just said, I'm not for everybody.
We're
you
not,
know?
right?
No,
we're
you're not.
And
so listen, I'm sorry. Your feelings have been hurt. And I said to her, I go, but no, thank you. Right? Like, and not because of anything, but I'm not getting in the middle of that. That's between you. And I said to her, this is between you and your client. If you'd like to have that conversation with them, you should have that conversation. Okay, fine. So then, anyway, it goes into a back and forth. My brokerage gets involved. I called Joel and I said, Joel, these lovely people need your help. They need to be supported. I mean, and these are people that are like, again, piece together their life savings to be able to buy their first home. They're not like people just going, I don't like you, I don't like you. And by the way, there are people that go through agents like that. There is no, this is not who they are. And they wouldn't let them out. Oh, and by the way, oh wait, I have to go back. So then we're like, you know what? I said, like as Joel and I always say, what's your line? If you can cut a check to make the...
Yeah, cut a check, solve the problem, right.
Solve the problem. So I'm like, you know what? For these people, it got to the point where I was like, you know what, guys? Okay. I want to help you. This is what's most important. I said, let's send the offer over to them and we'll sign the referral. Their broker of record got involved and said, yeah, we've changed our mind. It's now 50%. They started to extort us even more. They wouldn't let them out. They would hold on, how many weeks? Three total weeks?
It was a while.
3 weeks they worked with her.
Oh, sorry.
That's such an important, worked with her.
That's such an important point to stop and mention. The agency
How many
relationship.
places did they see? What is your hourly rate?
Yeah.
What exactly did you do that you feel so confident in? I haven't done anything, by the way, right now. I haven't done anything.
Super
and
important.
I haven't sold anything, so I haven't made any money myself.
3 weeks. That's so important to reflect on. Now, it wasn't
like a year, and then they're like, you know what? My cousin just got in the business, and I really appreciate your help for the last year, but I'm going to use my cousin. I'd be like, what?
I want to reflect on one thing, which is, and this is hard. This is the hardest part for me.
Okay.
For the clients, it didn't matter.
What do you mean?
The clients are not the one who are out of pocket.
So 100%. So now it's about the agents to agents. So
right, because at the end of the day, you get on a buy, you get compensated by the seller.
Yep.
And so the buyer sort of, and these people are not that. No. But cynically, I was thinking, because I'm bitter and I'm twisted, and that's why we're friends. That's why we're friends. I said, well, sure, they don't care because it doesn't come out of your pocket. It comes out of Rachel's pocket.
And so they weren't those people because they were like, we don't want you to be out of pocket. They really struggled with it. And the saddest part about this was that they put in a RICO complaint.
Right.
And then they started calling them and harassing them about it.
Right. Because...
And they were like, oh, we only wanted to let you out. We want the best for you. And she's like, if you wanted the best for me, you would have just mutually released me and not tried to extort my agent for 25%.
And that RICO complaint is likely going to go nowhere.
It's going to go nowhere because RICO doesn't care.
Because it's not, RICO cares about trust funds, although maybe not.
Well, we'll see. But
that's another 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
But having said that, the bottom line is that RICO isn't going to get involved because this is an agent-agent matter over a signed buyer rep agreement, and it's not like justice is going to be served, right?
And the best part was, out of all of this, was like, this wasn't like a $5 million purchase. And actually, like, when I got to the end of it, which was just like, it burned me to sign it only out of principle because it wasn't about the money. It was how I got to the point instead where I turned around and was like, how literally pathetic are they? The brokerage and the agent, because really, what was this money that they were fighting us on? Like, it was so small.
Well, and then they
got it wrong. Remember, they were like, "Oh, it's not $1 million. It's 1.2." And like the clients were like, "We don't even have $1 million."
So the one thing that I also want to reflect on is the time. So how much time did you and I give? I said I'm going to do this for you. So I'm not charging anyone, and I don't live to charge people. I live for the relationships that I have and for...
When it's necessary, you do, but we said that.
So we had said up front, but I do want to talk about how long it took and how much effort that you and I had to go to. So you had several discussions with your broker. We had several conference calls with the clients. We had
a million emails,
group emails. And then there were emails to the other agency and to their broker of record. And
100 hours?
There was another broker around. Whether or not it was 100 or 10 or 20, but the point really is that they're the only person that actually lost was you, and I lost my time. But I think it's really interesting because the system doesn't work in this situation because the people didn't want to work with that other agent anymore. And their only choice was to sit on the sidelines for a year and wait the contract out before they could work with somebody.
I mean, listen, my broker of record offered to go to bat with him and say, I'll pay the fees if we lose, and said, listen, I don't believe that you will lose, and if you get sued, I will put it into writing that I will cover, blah, blah, blah. Now, listen, they're young kids. That's a scary scenario to have a conversation. I wouldn't have done it at their age.
I would not have.
There's no way. I appreciate Darren's a lovely human being, and he was mad about it, not for me, but he was mad at the other brokerage. And you know what? This is where I was the most upset about it. Do you know what? And I've said this to you many times.
Yeah.
These people give us a bad name. This is why people don't want to sign buyer representation. This is why people think that agents make too much money. This is why they think our business is easy, because these guys have absolutely no morals whatsoever that they're going to come after. You know what my broker would would go, I'm really sorry that happened to you, Rachel. You know what? It's happened to all of us. There are people out there and they're just not for you. Let's sit down and talk about how we can learn from this the next time. Instead of going, yeah, we're going to go. The guy pretending to be the broker of record, he wasn't the broker of record. And by the way, it was some cloud brokerage in Durham.
So your
like an iPro Realty.
The support that you have with Darren, I think I want to call that out because he is an exceptional guy.
He is.
And the things that he offered to these people that he didn't know, because he felt that the principles and morality were being violated. I think speak a lot to how important brokerages really are. Because I got to tell you,
You deal with so many.
that
of
was
them.
so impressive just to see
was.
him personally step up, personally get involved.
Personally put down his own money and say,
Yeah,
I
he
will
would
deal.
say- he said
He's like, I'll pay the
basically,
commission.
I'll-
I will personally.
I'll
He said
do
it to
it.
me. He goes, Rachel, if it comes back, I will pay you full commission. And I said, you're not going to do that.
Right.
But I think that's the lesson in this. And I hate to toot our horns.
And that's
what were those
really-
people going to do if they didn't get referred to me that knew you, that was in that ecosystem?
I know.
They would have sat for a year and said, okay, I guess our hopes and dreams are not going to happen this year. Or they would have bought and they would have been so bitter. And you know what? They would have always felt that in that house. They would have.
And that's really, for me, the takeaway is, if I wanted to talk about anything, I would say, check out the brokerage, check out the broker, check out the agent, know who you're contracting with.
Call references.
And you know what? Take that pause. If you're not sure what the contract says, go to your circle of influence. Who's in your circle of influence? Whether it's your accountant, a lawyer, your cousin Manny, I don't care who it is. Take
Second
a pause.
set of eyes.
Yeah, and just say, you know what? I'm going to take this away with me. And before I sign anything, because we're dealing now with our kids, right? So my kid's going to be dealing with you, and
Heir
we're
appearance.
dealing. No, but I'm saying we're dealing now. But the next gen, and they're young. They're in their late 20s, early 30s. They haven't contracted before, so take that pause. You're watching us on this podcast today. You're 29. You're 30. You haven't signed contracts. Talk to your parents. Don't
feel pressure.
No,
Just because someone
no,
puts
no,
a piece
no.
of paper in front of you, it's okay to say, great, can I take this with me?
Yeah.
I need a little time.
I'm going to talk to my friend. I'm going to talk to, and explore your circle of influence. Find the best people for yourself, and you're going to find that your contractual relations and the people who you're working with will equal that sort of effort that you're also putting in, and it really goes to that. We're as I get older, I'm dealing with my son's peers. I'm dealing, and you know what? They're so savvy. They're smart. They deal with money far better than I did at the same age.
Oh my God, right?
They're really good.
They're really
good.
good.
And I have a lot of respect for that generation. And I think the one thing I would say is take that pause. Don't jump in. And if you're getting that feeling in your gut, like I bet if we went back and asked our clients, at some point, did you have the feeling in your gut? They would have said yes. We have that feeling in our gut that this is not the right thing for us.
The agent couldn't even sign it because she wasn't online, or she was out of country or something.
Yeah, and she took. I remember, again, this is all anecdotal stuff, but she took a vacation and said, "Well, I'll be back in a bit." But the reason we're telling this story about a document that we've never
sign all
talked
the time,
about,
and we never talk about,
and we don't talk about
it
it.
has huge ramifications.
It's because there's consequences, and whether you're buying a new build and you've had interaction at a sales office, whether you're signing on with an agent, whether you're interviewing me as a lawyer, take that pause or talk to somebody else or get somebody else's viewpoint, because the consequence could have been, if they really didn't come into our system, that they might have had to sit it out or work with somebody that they really just didn't want to work with anymore. And that doesn't feel good. And I agree, it sort of has this lasting trail behind it, doesn't it?
Again, you always go to that, okay, I just want to find Hesed for the people involved, and go somewhere there, because that's just better for me. And I think that I hope they survive, because they sure were gunning to keep that business in their brokerage.
And we've always talked about how lots of the stuff we do is karma based, and I've often told clients I use karma based billing, and they say, "What's that?" And I say, it's a feeling. In other words, I've given people their money back. I do stuff where I don't charge, because for me it's about that long run of where I want me to be in the world, not them. So, my takeaway from this is take a pause, slow down, make sure you know who you're contracting with, check them out, get references, and remember the importance of this transaction, right? You're going to put your head down on that pillow every night, and you just want it to be the best experience it can be. It's stressful.
It is stressful, and I think it's great life advice in general. Like, just read more than your care instruction.
Take a little
more
more
than the
time. That
menu.
tiny label on the back of your sweater.
Read more than the menu. Thank you, Joel Kadish.
You know what?
Kadish.
Turned out way better than I expected, because we turned it into something, I think,
It
that
did,
did some advice.
And you know what? The client that referred me is just also one of the most lovely human beings. And it, as they say, like, the greatest gift is not to do a mitzvah, but for someone to give you the opportunity to do one.
100%.
And so to me, it was to be able to help these people out and do it. And you know what? To date, as we are filming, they have not bought anything yet.
No.
And you know what? And they will, and that's, their journey is their journey, and it's the end of the summer, and everyone's, kind of still sitting back, and there's really, by the way, still nothing to buy. But you know what? If they didn't, I still put my head on the pillow, and I'll feel really good about what you and I did.
I do. And you know what?
I think we righted a wrong in our profession that should never have happened.
And you know what? I didn't give it a second thought, because
we're vigilantes. No.
We want but we wanted to do. We don't. At our age and stage, you don't do things you don't want to do. And we did it because we wanted to do it.
I don't know if I ever did that as a young child, but anyway.
No, I agree. But we did it because we wanted to do it, and we felt that there was something that needed to happen here. And so another takeaway is be kind to each other.
Yes.
As lawyers, as accountants, as when we're dealing with other professionals, if you give out, you're going to get it back. And I think that's kind of
tell my agents
how we
that
live
too.
our lives, right?
Get on the other side.
And it's not just about how you deal in your professional life, but it's how you deal in all of your life, right?
Sure.
And how you deal with the universe. And I think that's I didn't expect that to be the takeaway today, but I'm glad it was. I'm really glad.
I think it was too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. See you next time.
See you next time. Thanks, Kadish.
There you go.